Chapter 15 The Rescue. Lamare Amark. Amer is a great province. It had good leadership, but I was unsure now that a king was leading it. Regardless, it is the province that I was most familiar with because my father had been fond of this place. He would send me here before to meet the former queen, Marcella Benilde. That was a long time ago, back when I was unaware that she was the mother of my former husband. Wind, as it turned out, was of royal blood too. It occurred to me then if that was why father had trusted Wind so much. Was it because he was the son of a woman he used to love? Aside from the many soldiers and a few tree runners that patrolled the province, nothing seemed to have changed. I was able to get a glimpse of the Amaresian palace, which brought back memories from my childhood. Those memories made my heart long for the Kanelan palace, though. No matter how many moon turns have passed, the palace was still home to me. Amaya was riding alongside me, and Mathis was sharing her ride. His beady eyes were staring straight ahead, alert and delighted at the things he was seeing. It will be days before we reach Canela, I said. The shortest path cuts across the Nivedon mountain ridges. It will be a difficult ride, but it will cut our travel time in half. Amaya pursed her lips. I agree. It's just that I still have some reservations about setting foot in Canela, she said. When we reach Canela, you and Mathis can seek refuge at an inn while I search for my son. It shouldn't be difficult for me to locate him because the Emperor is focused on capturing him. There should be a lot of information that the Kanelan inns can offer me. All I have to do is eat in the common inns and listen to gossip. That is true. But I'm worried that we will be easily recognizable, my lady, Amaya said. If there are no posters of us hanging on the walls everywhere, then we might stand a good chance of succeeding in our feat, but if not, she stopped, and there was no need for her to finish her sentence because I understood what she was alluding to. The border to Nivedon was close, and there was just one town before it, Passage. In Passage, there were tiny houses clustered together, each self-sustaining. They raised their cattle and harvested their produce. All year round, they would have a steady supply of food. There was nothing to worry about in this place. As we rode on, I saw signages leading to taverns. There were many here because they were really built to cater to travelers. Let's stop to have a full meal first before we continue our journey, I said. Amaya nodded, so we selected the one that seemed the cleanest. The aroma of cooked meat filled the air, and my stomach grumbled loudly. When I looked up, Amaya was smiling at me. I am famished as well, she said. I smiled at her. We ordered mutton and soup, and to my surprise, Amaya requested a mug of ale as well. What the cratty hell? I said, imitating the men eating and drinking at the other tables. Gimme some ale too. I roared. Amaya laughed with me. Mathis was looking at us oddly. What's so funny? He asked, his big round eyes staring at us, which had us laugh even louder. Not a proper way for a lady to behave in a tavern, but that was not my concern. I wanted to enjoy this meal. There are soldier camps nearby. They have been taking in prisoners, mostly relatives of those who have joined the rebellion, the man from the other table said. I tried to listen more closely to what they were talking about. Soldier camps? I knew that they were being deployed across Akea, but why would they be taking in prisoners if these people were innocent? The barmaid gave us our food. The meat looked juicy, and Mathis grabbed his plate closer to him and started to eat. Wait, I said to the barmaid as she moved to walk away from us. She turned and stared at me blankly. What have you heard about the soldiers those men from the other table are talking about? I asked. Her eyebrows nodded, and she looked warily around first before saying anything. Difficult times now. One must be careful, my lady. The soldiers are taking captive anyone whom they think might be against the Empire. But we are just enjoying a meal here, I said. The barmaid eyed our packs that contained our clothes. You look like you're running away from something. The soldiers question anyone who travels during these times. If you cannot give a good reason as to why you are traveling, you will be taken as captives. She paused and shivered and rubbed her arms rapidly as though she was trying to make invisible goosebumps go away. And when someone is taken, it's unthinkable what these soldiers do, especially to women. Amaya's eyes rounded when she heard this and turned visibly paler. They're raping the women, the barmaid said. That's what I heard. So please, my lady, be careful. If you want my advice, pay for your meals and leave now. I can have your food packed so that you can be on your way. Are there many women held captive? I asked. The barmaid shook her head. I don't know, my lady, she said. I only listen to the customers who visit us. I know nothing more. My face was flushed in anger. How could this be? And how could Wind have agreed for his men to do the unthinkable to Akene women? It was power he wanted, and he has that. Has he become so dirty as well? I closed my eyes to control my emotions, the way that father had taught me. I counted up to 100 or until I could feel the muscles on my face relax, except that I was already halfway counting, and I could still feel the tension on my face. Help me. Help me save Goemi, I surprisingly heard Quila say inside my head. What? Quila, is that you? Can you hear me? Yes. I tried to connect to Miroe to help me save Goemi, but maybe he is too far away. I couldn't reach him, Quila said from a distance. Amaya and Mathis were eyeing me curiously upon hearing me talk to myself. Where are you? What happened? Tell me. I said in a rush. My eyes were open now, but I could still hear Quila. She was able to copy voices before, that was her power. But powers grow, and this was probably how hers developed to become. We're in a mare, and if I'm able to talk to you, then perhaps you are nearby. Please, look for the soldiers' camps. A mile away from their perimeter, you will find me. I need you. I need someone to help me. I am all alone now, Quila said in a rush. Stay calm, Quila, I said. I will find you. Help is on the way. And then the connection was gone. I couldn't hear her anymore. Quila? I said repeatedly. When she didn't answer, I turned to Amaya. We're not going to Canela. We're staying here to rescue my son's friend and I paused, wondering if I could say the word. Then I continued, daughter. Quila Tash. My hands shook uncontrollably as I squeezed under a haystack. It was as though no matter what I did, Akea was unsafe. And while this thought made me afraid, I had to remain strong for Goemi. She was counting on me to save her. It was nighttime again, and it was difficult to find sleep because whenever I spoke to Goemi, I would hear her babbling. A week before, she would cry incessantly, but these past days, I worried more about her because she no longer cried. Instead, she babbled like a baby. When it was dark, it was easier to communicate. Perhaps it was because of the stillness. Mistress Lamare? I said. But just like yesterday, I was unable to speak to her. Mistress Lamare, please, if you hear me, please talk to me. I waited a little bit, but there was no response. I see Goemi. I see her every day. When the soldiers travel, she also rides with them. But the other day, she was dragged by a horse. She could have died, and I was afraid that she did, but yesterday, I saw her again. I hardly recognized her because the soldiers had shaved off her hair. But I knew it was her. I knew her clothes even if they were torn and dirty beyond recognition. And the way she stands so upright even though probably she had been so broken inside, I knew it was her. When the soldiers moved to another campsite, Goemi was bound to a horse. I was relieved but only for a while because while she is alive, she will still be suffering as long as I haven't rescued her yet. That's why I need you, Mistress Lamare. I need to save her. When there was no response, I wanted to cry, but instead, I calmed myself and concentrated. I will be able to do it. Tomorrow, I promise. I will rescue Goemi with or without any help. I wanted to dream of a way to rescue her, but even in my dreams, I could only pray that I had greater powers so that I could rescue her. I concentrated and tried to listen. Not just to listen to my surroundings but to listen to words that were directed to me. Since discovering that my power had grown, I can now sense someone talking to me in their heads, as long as I consciously listen to their words. So even as I prepared to sleep, I opened myself to listening and hoped that should Goemi or Mistress Lamare talk to me, I would be able to hear them. Before I fell asleep, though, I already heard some voices. Quila, where are you? It was Mistress Lamare. I sat up and was immediately awake. I'm not so sure which town this is, but it sounds like egg yolk. Do you know of such a place? I said, my heart pumping faster after realizing that Mistress Lamare was finally able to reach me. There was some soft laughter before I heard her say, Ignok. That's good because I'm already here in Ignok. Can you describe where you are because from where I am, I can already see the soldiers' camps? I stood up in excitement. Really? Where are you? Oh, gods, I pray you're not on the opposite side. I hope you are just near me. I hope. I shrieked as foreign arms grabbed me. Hush, said Mistress Lamare. Dear gods. You're the kindest, most wonderful gods for always hearing my prayers. I hugged Mistress Lamare so tightly because I was happy to see her. I was not even sure she survived Sinista. I did not realize that I was crying already as I clung to her. It's all right. We'll rescue Goemi. Together, she said. There was another lady with Mistress Lamare and a little boy. The lady took a good look at me and held out her hand. I will give you some healing, she said, and I felt a wave of calmness wash over me. It was the most wonderful feeling. I was unaware that I was such a wreck until she cleansed me from all the negativity that I was feeling. Thank you, I said. She's a Maya, and she's a healer, Mistress Lamare said. I thought I saw you go inside the barn, but I wanted to be sure it was you. But enough of this for now. How are we going to rescue Goemi? Do you have any plans? I nodded at high speed. I have an idea, but I'm not sure if it will work. We need to rescue her by tomorrow, if not, we might be too late already. I told her what I had in mind and how I hoped that it would work. Mistress Lamare looked thoughtfully at me, and after a while, she said that it might work, less some tweaks to the plan. Amaya also joined in. And by the time the cock crowed, we had laid out the perfect plan. Or so we thought. Goemi Pasap. I see Miroe everywhere. Oh, and there was Arden too. All the people I loved were here, and they wanted to take me to a place where there was no more pain, where the general would not be able to break me. Arden will be the one to do that, except that, he's dead. I shivered. Every part of my body ached, and sometimes, I thought that there was nothing inside my head that made sense anymore. I felt feverish. I felt like I was floating, no longer a part of this world. I heard someone enter the tent. Or was it even a tent? Why was I inside a tent? It was hard to remember now. Something grumbled, and I wondered if it was my stomach. Was it? Then I laughed because I didn't feel hungry at all. They're looking for the general, a soldier said. The tent flap opened, and light came inside this usually dark place. I squinted and thought I saw Mother. Mistress Lamare, I thought. She's here to save me. Then I laughed weakly because I knew that I must be hallucinating. I will be out there in a minute, the soldier who was inside the tent with me shouted. Who could be looking for the general? He went out to follow the other soldier. I watched as the tent flap opened again. And this time, I think I really saw Mother. Her eyes were fixed on this tent, but I wondered if she had seen me, too. And if she did she recognize me? I wanted to shout, but as soon as I opened my mouth, my throat constricted, and I remembered that I hadn't drunk water for almost a day now. Lamare Amark. The soldiers were escorting me to the general's tent. In the meantime, Quila, Amaya, and Mathis were inside another tent, which we were able to occupy because the Emperor, His Royal Highness, shouted at the soldiers to leave him alone. Quila pretended to be the Emperor by imitating his voice while hiding behind some sheets. I tried to look annoyed so my fear would go unnoticed, but my heart was thumping fast because I was unsure if this plan would work. General, there's a lady here to see you, the soldier who was escorting me announced. There was a loud grunt from inside the tent, after which a voice told the soldier may now enter. To this, the soldier pushed me inside. General Edom Masawi of Arena Province came to view. It has been moon-turned since I last saw him, and it seemed he had aged much. His head was balding now, and the lines on his forehead had grown deeper. Regardless, he still looked as hard-hearted as before. He was the most stubborn among the war generals, someone who was difficult to talk to. Of all the generals, why did I have to deal with him? I knelt. General Masawi, the Emperor has taken me captive. He asked me to fetch you so that he can inquire directly from you of your conquests. At the same time, he wishes to hand me over to you. I stopped and waited for his response, but there was nothing but silence. Then I heard him laughing. What is the former royal scribe doing here in Ignok? In this godforsaken place that's hardly touched by civilization? And why is she claiming that the emperor himself has captured her and brought her here when I know that his royal highness is in Canela, probably on his way to Karasthea, and not planning on wasting his time flying to Ignok? His voice boomed inside the tent. General, the emperor is here. He was the one who captured me, I said. It's true, General, the soldier said. He instructed me to go and summon you because he wishes to talk to you. He said not to make him wait. General Masawi's face scrunched in disbelief. You do know that once I learn that this is a lie, I will have you beheaded, he told the soldier. The soldier's face flushed, but he said, there's no doubt about the emperor's presence. He's here. He gave me the instructions himself. How can he give you the instructions when he is not here? General Masawi insisted. He is in Canela. Do not take me for a fool. The emperor has more important things in mind than going after a royal scribe who has defected her support. Do you understand that, Agus? The soldier nodded. But General, he gave the instructions to me. And while you will have me beheaded, he said that if you make him wait, he will behead you. It was General Masawi's turn to be surprised. He touched his chin repeatedly as though he was trying to measure the truth in those words. It is difficult to believe you, he said to the soldier, and then he pointed to me, and you. But that does sound like the emperor. He will not have second thoughts about beheading me if I make him wait. And so, because I am curious, let it be known that it's only because I am curious that I will join you to see him, he said in an arrogant tone. He stood up and added, but tie her up. This still doesn't sound like something the emperor would do. Somebody tie this woman. The other soldiers bound my wrists while General Masawi stood up to face me. Why do I need to go to him? If you are telling the truth, and this is not a trick, why can he not go to me? He asked. You seem not to know the emperor. Do you want to question him? Or do you hate yourself so much that you'd rather not witness another sunrise tomorrow? If the emperor learns of your insolence, you will lose your honor, and one of your soldiers, even the scraggly one, may be chosen to take over your position. This time, the general looked worried because it was something that the emperor would most likely do. After all, it had just been in the last moon turn that he banished Queen Marcella Benilda to Sinista and declared General Ion Nodo as the king. General Masawi remained silent after that. He then commanded all the soldiers inside his tent to join him. All of you will come with me, he said. On the way to the tent where Quila, Amaya, and Mathis were, I tried to control my breathing while glancing at the general from the corner of my eye. If at all, he looked annoyed. His lips were drooping, and his eyebrows were still knotted. He stopped in front of the tent before entering and looked at me and the soldier who summoned him as though to warn us of the possible punishments this ruse could bring us. I entered after the general. He stopped short when he saw that there was no one inside, but there was a curtain hanging in the middle. This was the part that I was afraid of. Where is the emperor? General Masawi asked. He unsheathed his sword in one quick motion and pointed the tip on my neck. I am not to be made a fool in my own camp. I gasped and held my breath, waiting for Quila to speak. And then she did a good imitation of the emperor's voice. There is no need for that, the emperor's cold voice said. General Masawi's back froze, and he looked surprised. He put his sword back on its sheath and bowed. Your Grace. I apologize if I made you wait. But this is a surprise, a good surprise, that is. Nevertheless, still a surprise. What did Lamari tell you? Did she say that the emperor made jokes? If she did, then please, by all means, flog her. The emperor's voice said. There is no need for that, Your Grace, General Masawi said. She will suffer later in the tent with the soldiers. My eyes blurred as rage seeped into my heart. I wanted to tear at the ropes that were binding my wrists so that I could slap him. This has to be quick. Give me an update on your conquests. I heard that you've been moving around in a mare. What have you found out? There is no doubt that the king in general, Ion Nodo, has a mare in tight control. There are hardly any rebels here. Just a handful that my men were able to capture. There is no reason for you to worry, Your Grace, he said. General Masawi's face looked concerned. Forgive me for asking, Your Grace, but I need to see your face, he said. Why are you hiding behind a curtain? Don't you dare come here and look at my face. The emperor growled. It was a good imitation of how the Emperor shouts when he is mad. I have contracted some hateful allergies, and it is unbecoming. It was a good excuse, one that Amaya had contributed when we were planning out this rescue mission. The problem was, General Masawi seemed to doubt what the Emperor just said. I hope that Quila will remember to ask about Goami soon. We ran the dialogues over and over, so she must remember that now is the time to ask. You spoke of captives? The Emperor said. Yes, Your Grace. I could use another servant in the palace. Is there anyone you can offer to me? There's plenty that could serve the palace, Your Highness, he said. It is important to teach these rebels a lesson. If you caught one, bring her for me to tame. I will make an example of her so that no one else would follow her deed, the Emperor said. The general took the bait just like we hoped and volunteered Goami. Your Grace, we caught one of the boy's companions, General Masawi said. One of the boy's companions? Then what are you waiting for? Bring her to me immediately. The Emperor yelled. General Masawi flinched as though he had expected something to happen, but nothing did. That was the moment I realized that we had to finish the conversation soon and get away, because anyone familiar with how the Emperor works knows that he will easily lash out at anyone and use his power to do that. He will bind someone with air or use an invisible whip. This may indeed appear odd to the general. My heart started to beat faster. General Masawi ordered the soldier to bring Goami. I wanted to walk around to control my anxiety, but I was unable to, otherwise, the general would have suspected something was afoot. Time slowed down as we all waited for Goami. Amaya? I was ill at ease behind the curtains. Quila looked shaken, but it was a good thing that despite that, her voice held firm as she imitated the Emperor. I was supposed to coach her about what to say since I have had more encounters with the Emperor than her. Everyone was silent now, and I heard the tent flap rustle as it opened and closed. There was a thump as someone was pushed to the ground. I took a quick peek and saw what seemed like a scrawny boy instead of a girl who was covered with dried blood and who was also almost completely bald. Leave her with me. I will use her as my servant, the Emperor said. If it pleases Your Grace, then so be it, but it is my duty to let you know that this girl will die in a few weeks. I can get you better maidservants here in Amer, someone that you wouldn't have to train because, forgive me, Your Grace, I believe your time is better spent on leading us than teaching housekeeping lessons to girls, but the general said. The way that the general talked to the Emperor made me worry. It was as though he did not believe that it was the Emperor he was talking to. I want her. Who are you to question what I want? The Emperor bellowed. Quila was doing quite well in her voice portrayal of the Emperor because we were able to rehearse how the Emperor should talk back to anyone, which was basically to just shout, should he feel that he is being questioned. I wish I could see the general's face to know if we needed to do anything more convincing. From his changing tone, it seemed the general had doubts that grew by the minute. Something seems to have escaped me, Your Grace. I was trying to think what it was, and then, I remember that I didn't mention anything about the prisoner that I took, nor did I refer to her as she, and yet you knew, he said. My heart started to beat fast. Quila turned to look at me with large eyes, obviously terrified that we had been found out. So how did you know it was a girl, Your Grace? He asked, confused. His questioning was quite pointed, and Quila's eyes were glued on me. How dare you question me? Quila shouted in the Emperor's voice. But no matter how good her imitation of the voice was, it was not enough. There was a loud swish as the general's sword hit the curtain, revealing Quila and me. The general's eyes were fixed on us, and he was smirking at us. Just as I thought. Forgive me, Your Grace, for not obeying you, he began in a mocking tone, but I had to make sure that I get to see your face even though, what was it, you have allergies. I ensure that no one fools me, and that should the Emperor be in danger, I would save him. He turned to face Lamare. And as for you, you will be returned to the Emperor. Instead of one, I now have 4 to deliver to His Royal Highness. He will be very pleased. Chills ran up and down my spine when he laughed. I was staring straight at Lamare, but she was as stunned as I was. The soldiers captured us with ease, and we could not fight because we all had passive powers. That did not stop the soldier approaching me from hitting me on the head. We knew we were all going to die.